Screen Radar presents Film Dorks.
Oh, look at that. We're back. We are back. It's been a while, folks, but I don't think anything's happened in the last 2 months at all since we last podcast. So thankfully we don't cover current events because they change every 6 seconds in this country.
What? Did something happen?
I don't know. But I'm Nick.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Lucas.
And we have our associate producer with us today, Bridget. Say hello, Bridget.
Hello.
Welcome to the
She's
internet.
going to help us. So if you got some questions, shoot them up on the comments because she's going to shoot them at us, and we will answer them.
And thanks for the promotion already, Nick.
There, you're welcome. We're back. We're back. 2021, coming in strong. Coming in even stronger than 2020, apparently, considering what happened yesterday. But that has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
What are we talking about today?
We are going to take a look back at the dumpster fire. That was 2020 in regards to entertainment, film and television and/or streaming. To be
all
specific.
Things screeny,
yeah, screeny type stuff.
So we're not going to talk about the dumpster fire of 2020. We're going to.
It wasn't the best year for films. We didn't have movie theaters, so that put a damper on some of our viewing pleasures. Not to say
we had
there
movie
wasn't
theaters
things to
for like
watch.
2 months, but it was like the worst 2 months of the year.
Yeah, of course. January and February is the dumping grounds, and that's all we got in terms of movie theaters. But we did get plenty of stuff that came out on streaming services, and some things
we got Bad Boys for Life.
Movie theaters that weren't COVID covered. So.
And I have to shamefully admit, I didn't watch a lot of new movies because there wasn't a lot coming out, but also because I just didn't have it in me. I spent a lot of my time watching old stuff, doing deep dives on cult films, and so my list of this year is weird. Like it's not my normal consumption habits.
And if you were following our podcast too, we were just basically doing deep dives. We occasionally reviewed a new movie when we found one that we could review and it made sense, but we were diving into a lot of horror flicks and time travel stuff, and and I suspect that this year will be similar. Although, there has been some switch ups in streaming. HBO Max, whether you like it or not, has decided to take almost their entire slate of 2020 movies and throw them on their streaming service in 2021. But I don't expect you're going to be able to get back into a movie theater for another 6 months. So
yeah.
No, but if you don't know what that means, it's your Wonder Woman 1984, Dune, and basically everything that Warner Brothers was going to put in a movie theater this year.
Ghostbusters too, right?
Right, yeah.
Oh, that's right. There's supposed to be it's like a sequel, but it's not a sequel.
There was a lot of movies we didn't get in 2021.
Yeah.
But there's still movies I enjoyed, and there's still movies I hated. And to be honest, you would think that as far as show-wise, there wasn't a whole lot that came out that way either. There was some new shows and obviously returning seasons, but it was kind of light in that regard as well. But there was definitely stuff worth watching.
Well, let's dive into it. What are we going to watch?
Let's get into it. Let's just jump and get into shows, series. And we're just going to focus on 2 categories in this, the best new series and the best returning series.
Okay.
So starting out with the best new series of 2020. Lucas, why don't you...
Do I get to go with... Well, okay.
What's your choice for the best new series of 2020?
Well, hold on. I don't know if I would essentially call this like the best series. So Lovecraft Country was one that I watched the pilot episode for, really liked it, super excited about it. I remember because I saw even the trailer for it, I was excited, and the pilot delivered. And then I watched the second episode, wasn't really feeling it, and then just forgot about it. And I thought, wow, that just really didn't live up to my expectations. And then thankfully, I was just like doing some dishes or something, and I put on the third episode for the hell of it. And then the deeper in I got into the series, the more I started to really love the series, because it's the reason I hope people go back and revisit it if they did what I did, is because it's the first time I've ever seen a TV show do an anthology series but still have the same storyline through all the different anthologies. So it's a sci-fi episode, you'll have a time travel episode, you'll have a haunted house episode, you'll have a slasher episode, whatever it is, and it's all the same characters, and the storyline goes through the entire thing, and it all feels like a cohesive whole, yet it's still an anthology series. And I found that totally fascinating.
Now that you explain it, because I did the same thing, I literally watched the first 3 episodes and completely gave up, because I'm like, what the fuck are they even doing?
Yeah.
And they just continued to beat a thematic dead horse. And I wouldn't have minded if they, it makes sense that they put so much focus on their theme of race, but it seemed like the only theme they had. And any other theme, like there was stuff going on with family relations, father and son, there were other themes going on, but none of them ever seem to take any focus.
Yeah, and I feel like that's why you have to watch the whole series, because then you suddenly see what they were doing, like
right. I didn't realize
that's
what they were doing, but now that you explain it, it kind of makes me a lot more interested in watching.
And it was all based on a book, so I imagine the book had all this in it as well, which now I find fascinating, and I want to kind of go back and read. But so the other one that I was like the contender for this for me was Perry Mason. I really enjoyed Perry Mason, except that what I got out of it is it felt like oddly it was it felt like a prequel. Like the episode,
like a long origin.
Yeah, the series
story.
ended like suddenly I was like, oh, now I want to watch the show they just created for us. So I have a feeling season 2 of Perry Mason is going to be even better than the first one, and probably might be my top pick for next season. But anyway, so Lovecraft Country though for me was the one that I thought was the most innovative and interesting, even if it maybe wasn't the best of the year. It's just one that I hope people go and revisit.
And the show that's a prequel to started in what, like the late 70s or the early 80s?
Well, no, Perry Mason was based on novels, like originally.
Okay.
They were like,
yeah, but there was movies and
yes, there was a TV. You're right, though. There was a TV show there was like in the 30s and then the 70s.
A reboot, so to speak.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoyed it. It looked great. The acting was phenomenal. It was interesting, but definitely not my favorite show of the year.
Yeah.
My favorite new series
was what?
Was a limited series. Is I Know This Much to Be True, which starred Mark Ruffalo, who played both lead characters, twin brothers, and man, he plays
beats
both the shit out of you. Yeah, he plays both lead characters, and it beats the shit out of you. It is okay. It is gut wrenching.
Yeah, I could tell that from the trailer.
Yeah, so tell us about it. What happens?
Sometimes it was a little much. Like it wore so heavy, but overall, his performances in both roles is fucking phenomenal.
Cool.
And
I'll have to check it out.
I like that I love the shit that's dark and dreary and doesn't have happy endings. And,
we know.
Just like life. I like shows that are like life, where everywhere you turn, you're just getting kicked in the balls, and this one does it in spades. So I could see where some people might feel like it's a little too much.
This show has 10 feet.
Yeah, but I highly recommend that series if you didn't get a chance to see it. It's on HBO,
he plays twins, right? And one of them.
Yeah, he plays twins, and one is mentally handicapped.
And I saw what was going on in the trailer, and like I knew immediately that it looked like a amazing performance, but I noped right out of there. Like I can't take that kind of shit.
I love it.
It looked like it was on yeah, but I mean, it looked like it was on like
kill everybody and do horrible things to every character we create.
It looked like it was on the Lorenzo's Oil level of like, Jesus Christ, like
it's brutal.
Sadness.
I'm not gonna lie, it's a brutal show, but it's really worth watching. It's really well written, really well performed. It was great. That's my pick.
I'm gonna have to check it out.
Be true.
We have had a lot of HBO ones now, man. I
I
think.
had
Yeah.
kind of a tie for mine.
Yeah. So yeah, talk about both of yours.
So I was a little unclear as to what we're calling a show
Yeah.
because there are two new shows that I really like. The first one and the one that I like better is The Queen's Gambit, but that was a limited series, and it's not really meant
It's
to.
a series.
Right, but it's not going to continue on. So
Yeah, the
it's
story
just kind of-
concluded. So
Neither is
Yeah.
neither's the one I chose.
But the show that I picked for a series that is going to continue is Ratchet, and I found that to be pretty fantastic in a whole lot of ways.
So what
Like,
about both of them though? So first Queen's Gambit, like what? Because I only watched the first episode of Queen's Gambit and it looked pretty great,
only
but I
watched
just
a
haven't
couple
gotten around
too.
to it. So what about Queen's Gambit?
same here.
Did you like?
So it stars Anya Joy Taylor, and she plays a young orphan girl in the '60s, and at the orphanage where she grows up, she learns how to play chess, and immediately like takes a liking to it, and then discovers that she's actually quite talented at it, and then discovers over the years that she's actually like amazingly talented at it, and it takes her to far more places than she ever thought a little orphan girl in the '60s would go. I mean that's the show in a nutshell, but it's done with such passion and like love for chess, but it doesn't like nerd out on it either. Like it shows it in a way that is interesting and captivating, and you don't really need to know like chess. I'm sure it helps a whole lot if you're like a chess nerd, that there's probably a lot of Easter eggs in there for people that are in the know. But the cinematography is fantastic. There's lots of really nice long takes, and the set decoration is great. They did a whole awesome thing with her fashion, and like all the cars and buildings and all that stuff. Like everything in it is impeccable. And
that's what Scott Frank's show. Frank Scott, 1, 2, I don't know. The two first name guy.
Yeah.
He the one that did Godless?
I think so, but I haven't looked them up actually.
No,
so.
I think that the Godless was his last show on Netflix, and that was a limited series as well, and it was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Like one of the best modern westerns I've seen.
Oh, the Western one. Yeah, I like that one. Okay,
Yeah,
it's that same guy.
Yeah,
I definitely liked him.
Jeff Daniels is a bad guy.
Yeah.
And I know Ratchet has the same people that made American Horror Story. And
Yeah, that's Ryan Murphy, because he got that
Yeah.
the whole deal with his production company in Netflix, right?
But that's very apparent from the style and the way they use color. I mean, like
He has some of the most
color
beautiful
is-
stuff that's on there. I mean, the photography
Yeah.
is so unique and fun. Like they have so much good camera movement in those.
There's lots of really big wide shots that really showcase the sets and the fashion and give it like this.
Yeah, his production values.
The lighting
on
is
top.
really creepy, and like some truly horrific things happen in the show, but it's not a horror show.
Yeah, they play it for camp more than anything.
Yeah, but the character it's Sarah Paulson, right?
Yeah, I was excited when you had both of these,
She-
Tom, because I was like, I don't honestly can't tell you which one. I think in Queen's Gambit may have been probably people like that better. It seemed like it's more popular, but Ratchet was, definitely worth watching.
Yeah, and Paulson really carried the whole show on her shoulders. The Ratchet character. I mean, it's the name. It's the titular character, so to speak. But she carried that with confidence and just like blew through every scene like it was nothing. And
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch it. I haven't. That's another one that's been on my list and I haven't gotten to.
Yeah.
Were you on Manna from Heaven, Lucas? Because
I was just a production assistant on it for like a day.
Yeah, she was in that movie.
She was. Who was she?
Paulson was on it?
I forgot the character she played, but she was only.
She was like young Bunny or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not. I don't know if she was young. No, she wouldn't have been young Bunny, because she's old. But I don't remember what character she played in that movie in particular. But we did get to work with her for a couple of days. She was cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's another one that's on my list.
Yeah.
Still haven't seen. So now that you picked them, I gotta watch them.
Well, so I thought there was some decent first new series that came out, but for me, like, I was most excited about the series that we're currently playing, and I don't know if anybody's watched this one. And again, I'm not going to say this was the best series of continuing series of this year, but I've been such a fan of Expanse since season 1. I mean, I was kind of tuning in as soon as Sci-Fi kicked it over to Amazon. Actually, I started watching. I guess that was like season 2, but I think season 4 came out this year. Then they just released season 5, like the first few episodes in December. And now it's going into January, and this is by far the best sci-fi show on that's streaming right now, at least new sci-fi show. And this latest season 5 that's happening is by far, like, I think the best they've done. So it reminds me of Battlestar Galactica because the stakes are so high, and they just are so fine with just fucking up the world and putting the characters through hell. So and season 3, actually, I was telling Nick this before the podcast, like season 3 was really sharp. I thought that was like as
I didn't
good
get
as
to season 3. I watched the first 2.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be as good as the as it could get. It's season 3, and then I think season 5 now, and just to let everybody know, season 6 is the final season. So like, if you get into it now, you get to like catch up on all these great old seasons, and then I think either by the end of this year or maybe early next year they'll have the final season out. So you can really just
but it was canceled after season 3 on what was it? Sci-Fi was it?
It was on Sci-Fi, and it was just too expensive of a show, and it did not have an audience. So Amazon, was buying everything up, so they bought it and rekindled it. Yeah. The effects got better. They were allowed to do more with it, and I'm so glad they did, because it's really one of those shows that it's they care about like the physics, like actual physics of space travel and the politics of like what it would happen if people lived
I was gonna say it's very
off planet, and it's just a hell of a lot of fun, and it's just got some badass scenes. The first few seasons have what's his name from who's in the original Punisher one? What's his
Thomas Jane.
Tom Jane. He's so fucking great in the he doesn't survive.
I loved him in it, and there was so much focus on him in the first season, and then they pulled focus away from his character.
They bring him back
in the first season. It felt like they didn't quite know what they were doing with the show, because it had a weird sort of noirish vibe.
Yeah,
like they gave him that kind of Blade Runner-esque sort of character. Out of place, wearing a fucking top hat and shit.
They use him again later, and they bring him back, and it's pretty fun. But so anyway, definitely check that one out. But so Nick, what was yours of
my favorite returning series? I had a couple, but I don't know how we can get through this without talking about the Mandalorian Season 2. It was fucking amazing.
Yeah,
it was the best Star Wars that's come out certainly since Empire, and I wouldn't put up a fight with you if you said it was the best Star Wars ever. It appropriately did fan service, but in a way showing us things we've never seen, bringing things in from different parts of the canon of the Star Wars universe.
I gotta say,
it did it with tons of style.
The first episode of the second season, they're back on Tatooine, and I was so annoyed. I'm like, don't we have this huge fucking galaxy to explore, and we're back on Tatooine, like this armpit of the, and then you see why. Then they like reveal why they're there, and they give you such like Timothy Oliphant's in it. They give you such interesting characters. Like, it's so
good.
It's definitely rekindled my love for
guest stars. And the first season was kind of set up, and it didn't push it as far, but this season really brought it home. And it's not like that show is heavy on character, but it certainly started to expand on the characters a little bit and give you a little more to chew on with character development.
They play into, I mean, I don't want to give too many spoilers, but the idea of religion.
If you haven't watched it, maybe tune out for 10 seconds.
No, but they really lean into
had it spoiled because it was everywhere.
Religious extremism and and your faith being tested. and this idea of like something we always ask, like all the fan stuff. You're like, well, what happened to the people who worked on the Death Star? They're like, they really answer all these questions of what it would be like to live and exist for real in this universe, and they made it feel
what I'm talking
human.
about. It did what the sequels that we just were force fed wanted to do, tried to do.
Yeah.
Well,
and they have Bill Burr, they bring back, who's so fucking funny, and it does not on paper make sense that he would work in a Star Wars universe, and he was my favorite character of that whole season.
I'll tell you what, if I said that I didn't cry a little bit at the season finale, I didn't lie. It was.
It also made Luke look fucking badass. I was like, "Where's this been?"
The fact that they bring in Luke Skywalker, tie him into this storyline. They finally have that moment between Grogu and the Mandalorian.
Oh, when he takes the
helmet out and he touches him. I was like, ah! And then of course the post-scene trailer where they set up a fucking Boba Fett show. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, the way they did that too, him going into Jabba's palace and just killing everybody and taking over the throne.
But it makes so much sense too, though, that they were like, all right, Marvel, how do we become Marvel? Use their successes, and then they just did, because I think who else is having a show is there's 3 shows being spun off out of it.
What is her name?
Ahsoka.
Ashoka.
She's getting her own series.
Who is from Clone Wars, which is awesome, and
the cinematic universe or whatever. And that's a really cool character. I don't know how well the show will end up doing, but super cool character. Yeah. It really did a lot to tie in. The way they ended the show, I guess it's kind of like, where are they going to go? But there's really a lot they have to play with Luke taking.
And the more they do, the more they expand the characters and the universe, the better it's going to be. Yeah.
And they're setting up this huge Mandalorian war.
Yeah. To take back the throne, the Darksaber. Yeah, that's fucking awesome.
It was fucking great.
Tom, did you like this one?
Incredible.
You seem so unenthusiastic.
I haven't watched it.
Oh, what?
Did
we just spoil everything for you?
No. I knew about the thing. Okay. I knew about all that crap. Okay. And so I'm sure that I will probably like it when I do see it. I've seen one episode. I saw the one with Clancy Brown in it from season 1. But I haven't done the Disney Plus thing.
I
don't really plan on it. So,
I have a nephew. That's why I watched it.
Yeah, right on. I've heard nothing but good things. It seems awesome. I know all the great people they brought in and all that, and it looks cool.
Well, what was your pick then for the best return show?
For me, it was The Boys.
Fuck
yeah, because I had a hard time with these two, but I had to pick The Mandalorian, and I was hoping.
Oh yeah, and I mean, if I had seen it, I'd probably be in the same situation. But
The Boys is so goddamn good.
Boys is so goddamn fun, and it's so socially relevant and just ridiculously violent and just unapologetically vile, and it's just so fun. And I never even heard of it before it was a show. I mean, I'm not really a comic book.
Yeah, I never read it either.
So, but from what I've heard since becoming a fan of the show, there's a lot more in store for it, and it just seems like they have only just ignited the rocket on that show, which is kind of amazing because it's already kind of jaw-droppingly shocking.
Where are they going to go with it? It's
I mean, there's supposed to be a big orgy with all the superheroes and stuff.
They go places.
That's just one thing,
and they will. They'll do it. Who's your favorite character on there? Who's your favorite?
It's definitely not the guy there.
Homelander?
Randy.
No.
The Dennis Quaid's son.
The guy whose girlfriend gets killed. Who?
That's Dennis Quaid's son.
No.
Huey.
Oh, Huey. Yeah, it is Dennis Quaid's son.
Yeah. He's my least favorite character, but
mine as well.
I love Frenchie. Frenchie is my favorite, but
Frenchie's awesome.
Deep.
But, the Deep
the Deep is great.
It's the fucking comic relief. He is one of the best parts of the show. Yeah.
Starlight's awesome.
It's just a solid ensemble,
Yeah, it's a
really.
good
It's kind of
cast.
hard to to make it.
Yeah.
I mean, even Huey, although he's hard to kind of like because he's such a fucking spineless little shit. But
Yeah.
but he's good in the series, and he serves his role and purpose well. He's just not the most likable character.
Well, that's just the
even
thing.
though
Like,
the show kind of his focus is on him.
I mean, Butcher also is like such a solid lead to
Butcher
ground
rules.
the series. So
yeah, and it blows my mind how many other things that he's been in.
Carl Urban.
Yeah.
You know the what's the Judge Dredd that he is in is one of the
Right.
best action unsung action movies ever made. I'll stand by
better
that.
than the
It's an
better than the
absolute shame
Stallone
they
one.
never made a sequel.
Yeah.
Right.
Or I just kind of want to watch that tonight, actually, to give you the truth. All right, so because we have a lot of ground to cover still, so that was all of our
Let's
TV
get into the
series.
movies then.
So, I'm going to throw it to you guys because there was not a lot of good action movies. It was kind of like a fucking
It wasn't
dismal.
a great year for movies, like, kind of across the board.
But there was one that you've both seen that I haven't seen yet, which is Tenet. That was the one I want. That and Dune I wanted to see in the theater because those are the ones you go to the theater for. So, Tom, tell me why Tenet. Like, what about it? And Nick, I guess you still didn't finish it.
Yeah, I
but
picked it as well.
Yeah.
Because we were light on action.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly the biggest action movie of the year, and
For sure.
it's the biggest brained action movie of the year. I mean, I almost put it in the sci-fi category.
Yeah.
But it's not sciencey. Like they don't go into gadgets. There's not a lot of
Right.
buttons and blinky lights and electrical.
And they don't go
sparks
crazy
and
into
stuff. So-
telling you, explaining it.
Right. So there's a lot more like shooting and fighting and exploding and things like that. So that's kind of why I put it into the action category. But once again, it's Christopher Nolan flexing his strongest muscles and actually still failing to flex his weakest muscles, I think. But it's a movie that's confusing enough that if you let yourself just go with it, it's a fun ride, and there's lots of cool shit to look at, and he blows up a plane like a legit 747. They wanted to do it for real because he didn't think that CGI could do it justice, and so
why
that
we
was
love
pretty
him.
awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this one was
But,
divisive. This film, like, there was a lot of people who were dogging on it, especially for the audio. You wrote that article about it.
Well, it suffers from a couple of different things that he's known for. First of all, it's a little hard to follow because there's lots of like weird time shit with stuff going backwards through time, and then like so that's weird. But yeah, there's some of the sound stuff that he's been criticized with before, but I don't think it was as prevalent in this movie as it was in other ones. Like the only time I really noticed it was clearly intentional to me, and I don't understand why that would bother people. But the third thing that I think was kind of new was the dialogue writing in this seemed a little weak to me. That it was like almost every scene seemed like it was expository in some way or another. And
Yeah, it was very plot servicing in that sense.
And in a way, I think they felt that might have been necessary because it's such a sort of a brain-bending story. But for me, it just seemed like every time people are talking, like they're explaining something to somebody.
Yeah, that drives me crazy.
So
Well, so
yeah,
you
there were
also
certainly elements. I mean, but there wasn't a lot to choose from in this category, and there are a lot of things to really like about this film. I mean,
oh yeah,
it's hard to not like. It's hard to really dislike a
I
Christopher
mean,
Nolan
I felt like
film
that
as
way
far
about
as I'm-
Inception. I was like, that was a beautiful film. Like, I don't really know what the fuck just happened, but I'll watch it again. Like, if that one's on the
Right,
TV, I'll
exactly.
keep it on and watch it because it's like looks incredible.
I do think
know.
John Washington and Twilight guy
Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson did great.
Yeah, Pattinson's fucking amazing.
He's just
man.
killing it now,
That
dude.
guy just
Yeah.
he just doesn't stop. He is so
Well, you got to run it when you got it.
hell bent on getting away from Twilight that he picks the most insane
Yeah.
shit. Like, I mean, The Lighthouse, his performance was mind-bogglingly good. It was the only issue that he had with his performance was he had to try to outact Willem Dafoe, which you're not going to do.
No.
So
it's honorable to try, though.
I like Pattinson. I'm really interested in his Batman. And the people bagging on that, I'm like, you're idiots.
Whatever.
This guy probably a better actor than anybody who's played Batman.
There's been some good ones.
He's no Adam West.
I mean, he's a great
Adam
actor,
West.
but
All right, well,
I don't know, man.
to keep things moving, I'm going to say that Tom had a submission for the worst action film of the year.
Let's get to worst at the end. Let's save our worst.
You sure? Oh, I just wanted to
end.
talk about this stuff. Okay, well, we'll save it for the end. Sure. So then, what does that bring
We'll
us
do
to?
a quick rundown of worst shit.
Okay, so then let's go to Sci-Fi Fantasy.
But wait, what was your pick?
Well, I had okay. Oh, you're
Correct.
right. I haven't done my pick, which was.
You don't have to get into it heavily, but
No. I forgot I had one. Okay, so for what I used this one. I didn't choose movies that I thought were the best. I chose movies that I thought were interesting. So I chose Extraction, because I thought the action scenes were super well choreographed. A lot of really great, like they care about where the camera is and how the action unfolds. Like it's insane how, like your average action movie now has to be on the level of like a decent John Wick movie at this point, where they like care about how the people are handling guns and like, you know, there's so much about the choreography that people care about. And I love the location of this because I think this was in like Jakarta or something. It was in Indonesia, I'm pretty sure. Like, so just the setting action movies outside of the United States makes me so fucking happy to see. Like an American action movie, not in the same 4 cities that we're always in the United States. So this one, the reason I liked it and recommended is because of that, and also Hemsworth. It was like I thought he did a fine job. You know, this one didn't like wow me, but those elements are why I thought it was worth watching. And so if you're looking for something a decent action movie to watch on like a Saturday when you're doing laundry or whatever, you will not be disappointed with Extraction, and there's definitely things to like about it.
Yeah,
Cool.
I agree. They had some pretty awesome stunts and the camera work. Like,
Yeah,
there's some pretty insane long takes in this that have a lot going on.
I always appreciate those.
Yeah, and there was not a lot of good emotional resonance for me, but like
Yeah, that was the only thing that took me out of it was the lead character
Well,
was just so
how much
depressed.
emotional resonance can Chris Hemsworth carry?
probably not a lot. But you know, there's not much in a Christopher Nolan movie, and we watch those. So you know, as action movies go,
right.
there's a reason I brought it up is because I thought it was worth visiting. So that brings us to Sci-Fi Fantasy.
Sci-fi.
So who wants to go first on this one, and I'll pull your movie up.
I'll go first.
Okay, so
I'm
Nick. All right,
gonna go
Nick.
first
Cool.
with
All right, let me
sci-fi.
find your
Because this movie could fit in multiple categories.
a few of the ones we
However,
chose can. So like
I put it in this one because I didn't have much of a choice with anything else. But Possessor Uncut, which is Cronenberg, not
Baby Boy Cronenberg.
not
Brandon.
Daddy Cronenberg.
Brandon Cronenberg.
Baby Cronenberg. This movie is really kind of a dark sci-fi thriller with body horror elements. You know, it's his sophomore effort. He did a movie, Antivirus was his first film.
Oh, I'd have to check.
Which is really, it had Caleb Landry Jones in it and was really interesting. But this one is just I'll put it this way. This movie's not for everybody. However, if you like body horror and you like really dark, twisted kind of sci-fi thriller type stuff, you're in for a treat with this one. It is, when it gets to the like, because there's times it feels like a horror movie. There's times it feels like straight sci-fi. There's times it feels like a spy thriller. But Andrea Yarborough, I believe, is the star of this, and I believe that's her name.
Well, he did Antiviral was the other one he did, which is
Antiviral, not Antivirus, but
and Andrea Riseborough is the name of the
Riseborough. When this gets into the horror or like the gore, I mean, he does not shy away from really gross shit, and it gets disgustingly uncomfortable at points.
That's so
And
wonderfully
it
like
kinda
his dad.
comes out of nowhere. Yeah, it is like his dad. But what's interesting about this is when you look at this movie, technically, it blows away his father's sophomore effort.
Sure.
You know, and that's not taking anything away from David Cronenberg. The guy's a fucking genius and a master, and obviously his son learned a shit ton from him, and probably got a way bigger budgets his first couple of movies because of who his dad is.
Yes.
But it's not that shouldn't take away from what he brings to cinema, and you know, this movie takes, you know, it goes far beyond his first film, technically and storytelling wise and character wise, and special effects wise, and it just makes you like, you're excited that there's another Cronenberg on the block, and he's not afraid to do the body horror stuff and the gore. His dad has moved into kind of more serious territory, and he does fantastic work. But you know, this kind of harkens back to what his dad used to do with like Rabid and, you know, some of his earlier, you know, Videodrome, some of those earlier kind of sci-fi horror, body horror movies.
Yeah, I think Videodrome and The Fly
definitely
might be two of my favorite
right.
Cronenberg
And it
ones.
harkens back to that. There's, you know, there's a lot of that vibe going on, but I don't know. I highly recommend Possessor Uncut. But if you're watching this movie, watch Possessor Uncut. Don't watch just Possessor.
Okay. So
I think I convinced my parents to rent Videodrome on VHS when I was a little kid, and none of us knew what it was.
You're like, I like videos. Let's watch Videodrome.
Yeah, and we all put it on. Yeah, like when shit started getting crazy, I think that was one of the ones that got turned off. There weren't many.
Debbie Harry like being real sexy in that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. So Possessor Uncut, I've not yet seen. That's been on my list. It hasn't come out to streaming services yet, which is why I haven't watched it, because I'm cheap.
Disappointed in you, Lucas.
I'm sorry.
You haven't seen.
But so then for the next one, Tom, do you want to go next, or you want me to go next?
Sure, I don't care.
Okay, so I want to go next, but Nick and I both were going to kind of choose this one because I thought it came out in 2019, but I guess it premiered January 2020.
On demand and in theaters.
But can we play the teaser for it, because it's so fucking good? I just want people to watch the teaser for this one. The only one
because of who stars in it. You should play the teaser.
Okay.
Look at this.
All those years in the big city, we finally got out. We're living the dream.
Maybe it is a dream.
Then everything just blew up. Big flash, like a pink light. Or actually, I don't even know what color it was. It wasn't like any color I'd ever seen before.
Looks like a meteorite. You think it's radioactive? I mean, it's from space, right? Meteorites are generally no more dangerous than ordinary rocks.
How can something that big just disappear? Did you plant those?
No.
Ward, you come here for a sec.
Oh, God.
What are you doing? Shh. It's talking to me. Who's talking to you?
A man in the well.
It's in the static, it's in the moisture. It's in here, is out there. And what's out there is in here now.
Everything's under control.
Why are you so in denial?
That thing from the meteorite changes everything around it.
It's just the color. But it burns.
Do you believe me now?
I don't know what I believe anymore. Everything's gonna be A-okay.
All right. right, so this was the second to last movie I saw in the theater before, all the pandemic bullshit happened.
Oh, you got to see this in the theater?
Yes, that's why I was like, it can't be this. It couldn't have been 2020. And then I was like, yes. So I saw this, and then I saw Portrait of a Lady on Fire like the next week or something. But this one, Color Out of Space, was so much fun to see in the theater. Like, I think I would love this one at home. I would have a good time. But the audience went fucking berserk. They were like cracking up at Nick Cage and freaking out, and because it gets a little twisted and bizarre, and Nick Cage just gets to overact the shit out of it. So it's like, don't miss this one. Like it's such a cult movie of its time. Like, and Richard Stanley, who's a whack job of a filmmaker,
right, and hasn't made an actual feature narrative in a long time,
decades. Yeah, I mean, but it's so worth it.
With this.
Yeah,
I mean, this is another sci-fi horror movie.
It is, and I cheated putting this in sci-fi because it's more of a horror. But I mean, it's.
But how can you go wrong when
Lovecraft.
you combined Richard Stanley, Nicolas Cage, the producers of Mandy, H.P. Lovecraft?
Yeah, it's like wild, dude. So definitely don't forget about this one. If you missed it, and then the lockdown happened or whatever, search this one out and watch it. You watched the trailer already. I don't have to say too much about it because the less you know, almost the better going in. Except that you will not be disappointed. For me, the build of this movie, like halfway through, I was like, I think I like this movie, but I can't tell if it's like, are they trying to be silly? And then you realize, okay, he knew exactly what kind of film he was making. Especially by the end, like the crescendo that happens is on point. Does not disappoint.
Incredible.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
and this is another one that delves into body horror a little bit.
Yes. Definitely. I mean, it's H.P. Lovecraft kind of stuff. So.
But it's a great adaptation, a modern adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah, it's one of the best they've ever made.
Try to adapt H.P. Lovecraft. One of them being massive racism.
Yeah.
And they deal with it really well. And it's a great story. I mean, it's a great short story. Lovecraft was a great writer. He was just an asshole.
Yeah. He was an anti-Semite.
Yeah, he was pretty bad all the way around in that regard. But he wrote some fucked up, creepy shit, and to bring it into modern time. I mean, I feel like they nailed this one. It was great to see Lovecraft back on the screen because everybody's afraid to touch it, and they don't really know what to do with it. And it was announced that this did garner a lot of good reviews and great audience response, and apparently Stanley's doing a trilogy, Lovecraft trilogy.
I love hearing that.
So I'm down with another Stanley taking on another Lovecraft story because there's a lot of great shit out there to mine. But yeah, this is great fucking movie. What about you, Tom?
So
what you got?
Tom, this one is interesting because I think it's crosses genres as well.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of felt that this fell into the fantasy realm, really. I mean, I was kind of disappointed with what sci-fi had to offer this year. There was a show called Tales from the Loop, which I thought was pretty cool.
It had good moments, but yeah,
it had pacing problems.
That
I
was
really
my biggest
Rebecca
issue.
Hall.
Yeah,
but
what about movie-wise though? Is there anything movie-wise?
Not really. I don't know. I mean,
well, The Old Guard was the one that you chose for this.
Yeah. So The Old Guard, Charlize Theron and her plucky band of immortals go around fighting bad guys, and the military wants in, and it was based on a graphic novel, and again, that's why I had no idea what the hell it was. But I was pleasantly surprised by the story and by her acting and action, and the story was original. It was a new look at how immortals would live their lives out, I guess. And the villain I thought was kind of weak. That was definitely the weakest point of the movie. It was pretty decent with effects and stunts.
Yeah, the fight scenes, again, the choreography was on point on this, and,
The performances were solid, but it was a little rehashed.
Again, I think
I liked it, but it didn't blow me away. But again, there's not a lot to choose from. So,
but aren't they doing a sequel in this as well?
It's also kind of an action, sci-fi action. type film.
Yeah, I think this
Yeah,
is similar to
I-
Extraction. Like, you're not gonna be disappointed watching these films, but they're not probably gonna wow you too much either.
No. How about we move on to comedy just because
Sure. We're kind of
crunching the time here.
Sure. Well, I think Nick and I share the same number one, which was Borat, the sequel.
Yeah.
And do you want to take it away first, and then I'll put my 2 cents?
I think the reason I picked this one, and I love the Tom's choice, and we'll let him get into that one there, because that would have been my choice, another one of my choices. But I picked Borat's subsequent movie film because it was fucking hysterical and ballsy as shit. I laughed so fucking hard. And you know what was interesting about this? Like, the first Borat leaned really heavily on him going out and fucking with people. This one leaned a lot on scripted material.
Yeah.
There's still obviously, him going out and doing public stunts, but obviously everybody knew who he was. They knew Borat.
Yeah, and they wrote that into the story, which is awesome.
You can't run around as Borat, and he deals with that right away in the beginning of the film. Like, everybody recognizes him, So they brought in his daughter.
I love when he goes into the costume store and the guy's like oh, look, they even got a costume of you, stupid foreign reporter.
Yeah. But so they bring in the daughter to set up a lot of the public ridiculousness and the fucking with people. And
she's gonna win awards this year, by the way.
She's incredible. Yeah. She was just straight. I mean, she was brilliant, actually. And he's a genius. Some of the shit they get into, and I don't want to spoil it if you haven't really seen it. Yeah. There's some shit at the end of the film where I was like, holy fucking balls, he definitely got arrested.
Yeah.
But there were a couple moments that were scripted between him and his daughter that I literally fell on the ground laughing. There's some of the jokes they set up. The one where he finally brings her inside, and she's like, "Why is the sky so low?" And he's like, "Well, that's the ceiling."
I'll say though, dude, I didn't know what they were gonna do. I was like, how can you make a sequel to Borat? It doesn't make fucking sense. Like, where can you go with it? And then he did it in the most clever way possible. So yeah.
And it's hysterical and absolutely worth it.
Yeah. So if you had second thoughts about, like, why would I, again, like I did, like, why would I want to watch another Borat movie? Like, my God, it's such a worthy successor, and in some ways surpasses the original.
It's better than the original.
Like you said, because of the actual, like, scripted moments are heartfelt.
It's actually a movie.
Yeah, it's like more of a solid.
And you can tell that
movie.
they like rewrote the last part of the film. Like
they responded to COVID.
Right.
They made COVID a main part of the story. Oh, it's so well done.
It was so good. It was really. There's a lot of clever written material, and then the public stunts, especially later on in the film.
Yeah.
How long?
I do want to mention about Borat that whoever is the marketing team behind that movie did, like, one of the best jobs promoting a film through social media I've ever seen. Like, they invaded social media with Borat. Like, he took over TikTok, was showing up in like some of the most popular TikTokers videos. It was everywhere.
Oh, wow,
like,
that's really
I missed that. That's so smart.
Oh yeah, like David
That's 'cause we're old
Dobrik
guys.
popping up in his videos, like, absolutely insane. But I think it was crazy because obviously that's tailored to a younger audience, and they got him. Like,
Yeah.
100%.
Well, Bridget, did you watch the first one?
I had never seen the first one until I saw this, and I knew I wanted to see the new one, so I watched the first one, then I watched the new one.
No, that was the right way to do it. So yeah, what did you think of the sequel?
Sequel more. I thought it was outrageous. I mean, like, obviously it started a lot of stuff, like, I mean, but it was, I mean, like, the one thing, I don't want to give spoilers, but with the one lawyer who works in the White House, I thought that was, like, a joke. Like, I didn't realize that it was, like, I originally saw that clip on social media before I saw it in the movie, and I was like, oh my God, he has a cameo. And I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. There's no cameo.
We all, it is like watching the Fall from Grace has been brutal, so yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
but great. It was a great film. Great. Whoever the marketing team is, they should win
Kudos
that.
to you.
Yeah, no, that's cool to hear. Well, so then we're going to go to Tom's next selection. Thank you, Bridget.
Yeah.
And feel free to chime in if you have more background information and stuff. Which was...
You picked Tom for comedy.
He did Bill and Ted's
so
Face
I
the
mean,
Music.
it was a longly anticipated sequel to a beloved franchise. Bill and Ted Face the Music. People have been waiting for this movie for like 20 odd years, 25 maybe, I forget. But
For so long.
So long. We wished we had time machines. But I think the anticipation was high. Nobody ever really thought that it was going to be Citizen Kane, but the characters that Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter created are just so fun, and they stepped right back into those characters flawlessly, despite the time that's gone by. And for some reason, they had a lot of problems getting this movie made. It took a long time to get here.
They had a lot of directors come and go as well, and scripts.
Yeah, but there was like a lot of money shit too. And it seems completely stupid to me that anybody that wanted to make money would get in the way of this movie coming out. Like, I don't know how anybody ever thought that this wouldn't do awesome. And the delays that it had only affected that bottom line, in a negative. But either way, what we got was fun. It wasn't the funniest comedy ever, but it was
Funny
certainly
enough.
fun to watch. Everything that they did with the story and with the characters, I thought was on point. The casting was perfect. The only thing that any of us missed was George Carlin, but that's obviously tough to put in there.
But they missed him too, and they give you that.
Yeah, and I'm glad they didn't do some CGI bullshit of
Right. Yeah, they gave it proper respect.
And death was again.
His heart was in the
show.
right place always.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Kristen Shaw is always charming to watch.
Yeah.
The two daughters I thought were perfect. What they did with all the historical musicians was great.
Well, I mean, this had such an endearing ending. Like, I couldn't believe that it should have been like considered maudlin, but they pulled it off. Like, I honestly got teary watching it. It was so well done.
This series has always had an endearing message to it. This one just particularly landed at
Be
a time
excellent to each other.
Everybody needed to hear it. Like
the timing was right for sure.
We were so downtrodden. This was the most fun.
You're right. This was the best time I had not at the movies.
Right. Same here. I we enjoyed it watched with Tom. We just we loved it. Watched it with Tom and my girlfriend, and it was just so much fun. And it was so fun to revisit these characters, and
they stuck the landing at the ending.
It was just a blast to watch. Yeah. And the end of the movie, the message is just like pitch perfect for our time.
Go back, watch the whole trilogy, and you'll be so happy about your life.
I do have to say, Bill and Ted, I was obsessed with as a 7-year-old, because when you go to Pizza Hut as a kid, they would hand out DVD movies instead of like a toy. And they gave me Bill and Ted on DVDs as a 7-year-old from Pizza Hut. So I watched them for like years, the first 2 films.
Wait, they gave the first 2 films on DVD?
It was DVD instead of like a toy.
If you kept those, they'd probably be worth some money these days.
No, I still have them.
Well,
like
in the original packaging?
Oh, no, not in the original packaging.
No, show us photos, man. I think didn't Jeff have all the toys, Bill and Ted's toys? I'm thinking of my brother. My brother-in-law has
masturbatory about Back to the Future.
No, my brother-in-law has Bill and Ted's in the original.
I am traveling streams like that. And collectibles.
Well, no, my brother-in-law has all the Bill and Ted's toys in the original packaging, I think. Anyway,
but yeah, that movie was fun, and that would have been my choice had I not had to, at least.
Yeah, it's hard to choose.
I like Borat. I wouldn't say that I didn't like anything about Borat, except that it was a little manipulative. Like some of the things that they put together weren't like entirely as they had happened. They used like voiceover and cutaways and things like that. But it was super fun to watch. Like, I mean, I'm just dealing with like you know, they were both great comedies. It
Yeah.
was just like those were the fine points that I took off.
Fair enough.
Right.
Fair enough.
Well, let's move on because we got
Sure.
a couple more categories to get into here.
Well,
and we
so
don't
for
have
horror, which
horror,
this is a
which is
hard one
always
for me because
category.
I saw the most things I watched last year were horror films.
Horror
And
movies. Well, that was the best that you got. If
Yeah.
you're talking about genre films,
Last year,
because
horror was the
horror
best.
is not a big. I mean, not that there's not horror movies in the theaters, but when they are, they usually suck.
Yeah.
And so it's not that we're all running out to the movie theater to watch horror movies, unless you're watching some fucking creepy art house thing that makes it out. We're watching shit on demand. We're renting movies. Horror movies, so we got plenty of horror movies.
I also, my mood was
A lot of
horror.
good
Like,
ones this year.
I get so much comfort from watching horror movies that, like, especially when I'm in a bad mood, like that's what puts me in a good mood. Or so.
Me too.
The reason I
saw someone's face in half, and I will be happy.
No, but the reason I chose this movie, His House, is because this wasn't. It was actually, I'd say it probably was one of the best or the best horror film I saw last year, and there's a reason for it. I never would have even watched this movie. The title alone, it was in my Netflix queue, and I just had zero interest. And then I was listening to another podcast, Colors of the Dark, and they mentioned this movie, and I was like, what? Oh yeah, that's in my queue. Maybe I'll check it out before this end of the year podcast. And this is some truly terrifying scenes, but the idea is it's these two refugees fleeing from Senegal, one of those, I can't remember which African country. They mentioned at the first talk, but and they're fleeing violence, and they are in England, and they're trying to get into this new home. They're like refugees there, and just not only the real life horror is almost more terrifying than the haunting ghost story, because they get like followed by an evil witch that comes from their homeland. And is haunting their new house. And it's like the scenes are truly grounded in like the story, like all the horror is grounded in the story. And I was getting totally freaked out watching this, which is rare these days. And
Super uncomfortable.
Yeah, and then it also had such a great emotional arc for all the characters. Like I really felt this one. Like I was getting really emotionally attached to the film.
Not a bunch of crappy CGI.
No, and it really is. This one is just brutal to watch. It's just hard because it's so like, I can't. It's like so real. Like it just felt very real and fleshed out to me. So, and very simple concept too, which is crazy. Anyway, so definitely check it out.
To make, I mean, it was obviously. I mean, mostly takes place in one location for the most part.
And then
breaks it up just enough to make it not, but man,
wonderful imagery. Yeah, this came out of nowhere. I can't believe this didn't get
same
more.
here.
Get more attention.
I'm like, I'll watch this, and I'm like, whoa, this fucking movie.
Be prepared for it though. Don't only half pay attention. Put this one on, turn the lights off, and watch it. And I'm so glad I did.
Yeah.
So what did you put? Oh, I love Nick's choice. This is like such an interesting one. I'm so glad you chose it because I want to talk about it.
I had to choose this, and this is an odd one, and this movie is not for everybody, but this comes from who I think is one of the most brilliant screenwriters ever, Charlie Kaufman, and it's his first foray into a horror genre. I'm thinking of Ending Things. It's a Netflix original film. And it stars Jesse Plemons and I forget the female actress's name.
Can I read her name?
Really bad about my research.
Jesse Buckley? Is that her name?
Is it Jesse Buckley?
And Jesse Plemons.
Yeah. So it's basically Jesse Buckley.
That must have been fun on set. Like, hey, hey Jesse. What?
Who that?
She's traveling with her boyfriend who she hasn't been with that long, and they're going to visit his parents for the first time. They're traveling through a snowstorm, and his parents are played by Tony Collette and what's his face from The Big Lebowski that was in Maud's house and just kept giggling.
David.
Yeah, Stans, right?
David, what the heck? I'll check it. Thewlis, yeah. He's also from Harry Potter.
Right.
Oh, and a ton of Mike Lee films, whatever. I love that guy. He's a great actor. But anyway, yes.
But this movie isn't your typical horror movie. It is a lot of times it's heavy on dialogue, where scenes where they're driving in the car for 15 minutes talking. But it has this weird nightmarish build to it. It's like you're watching a waking nightmare, and not one where it's like monsters and gore and scare. It's just really uncomfortable.
No,
moments.
it's if Christopher Guest went to hell, I think this would be like,
good way to describe that.
Yeah,
but I mean, and it's based off of a book as well. So he adapted a book, turned it into this film, and I know a lot of people had a hard time with it, but I watched it twice, and I'll watch it again. You got to kind of let go in this movie and roll with it. I could see a lot of people, especially your general movie audience, really fighting this one and not enjoying it that much. But if you look at the performances are amazing, and the writing it's just incredible. It's super oddly poetic, and the way that the characters kind of switch their mood and their tone and almost their character in a way as they interact with each other. It's just a fucking really fascinating film.
It is definitely worth watching and then watching again. But I'll say that.
Yeah,
what my frustration with it, which is, it's not out of like doesn't mean I don't like the film, is that I went into this wanting to watch because I was like, Charlie Kaufman's doing a horror film. And I think I wanted a little more horror, a little less Charlie Kaufman, but you don't get that with Charlie Kaufman. So
you don't get that with Charlie Kaufman.
But that's what makes the film worth watching more than once, is because you get Charlie Kaufman, and it's like you got to really be paying attention.
I think I enjoyed it more this second time because it can be a little hard to follow at moments. You're like, what the fuck just happened? Why is that person 30 years older?
I would have loved to seen this one in the theaters, though, honestly, with the whole crowded theater where everybody's just confused and weirded out. And this would have been, and it's beautifully shot, too.
But it does a good job drawing you into that weird night, kind of waking nightmare sort of vibe. The very end, there was a sequence at the very end that was a little kind of, I don't know if this was necessary, but whatever. I really love this film, and I enjoyed it just as much, even if not more, the second time I watched it. So I recommend it.
And the world has a new Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah.
Yes, and he's
kind of.
I love him, man.
I don't know.
It's like if Philip Seymour
You're not a Clemens
Hoffman
fan?
And
I am.
It's like if him and Matt Damon had a kid together.
Yeah, you're right. Totally, absolutely.
Yep.
That's spot on. That's a good call. No, I like Clemens a lot. It's hard to compare anyone.
No, I know. God rest his soul.
You
forget how critical he was to like so many films until you go back and he was in everything as a character actor, side character, bit part, maybe in 4 scenes, and he just crushes every fucking scene he's in. Anyway, we'll miss it.
He steals every fucking scene.
Yeah. Okay, so
like your name a lot.
So Tom, I have listed on here for you, Guns Akimbo for horror.
Yeah. I didn't really watch a lot of horror this year. And,
I found it fascinating to use this one though, because it definitely is like horror. Yeah, it's like anyway.
The rest of the world outside is just so horrific this year that I kind of really wasn't looking for that in my entertainment. Mm-hmm. And I found Guns Akimbo to be strange and fun. It's a little gross, but it's probably more of a thriller than it is a horror. But
yeah, but there's a lot of people getting gunned down, so it's very violent. So it's kind of hard to.
It is pretty violent, and it's just it's different. It's not a slasher movie. It's not a ghost movie. It's not a hidden cameras in the house movie with nothing going on. There's a lot of it's fast paced. It's it's tongue in cheek, mm-hmm. and it's brightly lit. I don't know. I had fun watching it.
Yeah, it's
Harry
definitely
Potter, has guns bolted.
Well,
to
that
his
makes one of us had fun watching it.
I enjoyed watching it. It definitely was. I wanted it to be even more intense and weird, I think. But I don't know.
I guess I was a little disappointed because of how much potential.
Yeah, the premise is incredible, where he has guns nailed to his hands, whatever. I think we have a podcast episode where we review it, and I'll say that I'm always happy to see, like we said about Pattinson and then Daniel Radcliffe, like these guys take awesome fucking roles. Like they take risks, they do weird shit, and I would recommend watching this one. This one is it is a fun. I thought it was a fun movie. Samara Weaving's in it. You get her being a fucking coked up killer, so it's there's fun elements to it that is worth checking out for sure. Words. Okay, so then we're going to your drama Sound of Metal. I have not seen yet, and both you guys have seen this one, right? But this was Nick's choice.
I haven't. I'm planning on watching it.
Okay, so this is all Nick. I haven't seen it either, but I keep hearing great things about this one.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I won't spoil it. I mean, not there's as much as spoiled generally in a drama film.
Yeah, it's true.
But there's a couple good dramas, but again, there wasn't a lot. However, there's a couple that I like, but this one in particular, there was just the performance, and here I go again, not remembering who the star is.
Riz Ahmed.
Yeah,
Riz Ahmed is so goddamn good in everything.
Oh man, is he fucking good in this? In the sound in this, and I'm really interested, Curly, after you see it.
I need time to watch it.
Yeah, that's why I'm. Yeah, I mean, I actually know
how they draw you into. Yeah, how they draw you into this character who is he's a drummer for a metal band, so that draws me in anyways, and he loses his hearing, and he's also a recovering addict, so it kind of plays into this this idea of him trying to deal with the fact that he's not going to be able to hear. And that basically makes his being a drummer for a rock band almost impossible. And because of fear of him relapsing, he ends up going into this kind of rehab that is all deaf people that are recovering addicts. And it's really fucking interesting how it deals with recovery, how it deals with someone learning to deal with a disability, and it's just kind of it works on so many levels because of what the character, his desire, and him trying to figure out what his place is in life now that he can't do the thing that he loves. It's some at points it's really, really sad. And I guess, and it has one of those endings where you're kind of like, I fucking love the end of this movie. Cause it kind of sort of chops it off at the end a little bit. It doesn't
give you the resolution you're hoping for.
It doesn't conveniently tie the story up for you and give you a nicely bow-tied happy ending. Like a lot of dramas.
Well, I was excited when I saw that Riz Ahmed was in this because he was in The Night Of, which is a great series on HBO. He was in Star Wars Rogue One, whatever. It's like everything he's in, you just feel for the guy. Like his presence, you just like want to take care of him and you feel bad for him. I don't know how he does it.
This
he's
one
like,
will really make you do that.
Yeah, he's just great. He's great at empathizing for some reason. I don't know.
It's really it's a great emotional ride. Mm-hmm. I highly recommend The Sound of Metal.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out.
It's on Amazon, so if you have Amazon, it's free. And for me, overall, I think there's two great fucking dramas this year, and this one was certainly one of them. And I knew someone else was going to pick the other one,
and I did.
I grabbed it.
I picked Mank.
Yeah.
And I was excited about this one just because I'm such a fan of old Hollywood.
It is Citizen Kane.
It is, yeah. I mean, it pretty much is. I mean, we were talking about the structure of his, and it made me want to go back and rewatch Citizen Kane, even though I've seen it a million times. But no, just like that, everything about this, how they shot it, Gary Oldman getting a fucking killer role, like like we were surprised Gary Oldman would be great.
Screen like never existed.
Yeah,
It's fucking
but even like Amanda
ridiculous
Seyfried, who I feel like is underused, you know, like just so many women in Hollywood, and
She's great in
she
it.
gets like she the character she's playing. I was like, it's almost like they birthed her just to play that character. Yeah, it's just such a well crafted script. The how they filmed it as well, and I just wanted to live in that old Hollywood, especially again like in the middle of a lockdown. Like this is I was like, I didn't know I needed this movie until I watched it, and I can guarantee you, and I remember hearing the reviews and the responses, a lot of people didn't like this movie because it felt meandering and they didn't understand what the plot was, and you know, and meanwhile I'm like, everything about this movie worked for me, and because I'm a old film guy, like this is the shit I love. And I can completely understand if somebody said this is the worst movie of the year, but I'm like, okay, it wasn't for you, but this one is.
Oh, I
for
would
me
fight
was,
him. I would literally fight him.
Yeah, but you know, this is what.
No, listen.
Yeah.
The
and
first half
Charles
of the
Dance
movie
is great,
is
but-
very slow, and it's a little hard to get into, and you're kind of trying to figure out what they're doing. But once you start to realize what they're doing, at that point, Gary Oldman is like a fucking horse off to races, and you can't take your goddamn eyes off of this guy. But you know, they really are juxtapositioning because you know it's about you know Mankiewicz, and he was the writer of Citizen Kane, so it closely mirrors Citizen Kane. And it was this Fincher's movie, right?
Yeah, and I'm always. I mean, Fincher.
I'm a Fincher
always
fan.
I just love what he. You know, I'm fascinated with what he's doing and why he's doing it. And
But
so,
he tries really hard to kind of mimic the structure and the
pacing and the look and even the performances
of Citizen Kane and some of the performances.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, it's not Citizen Kane,
No.
but it's really interesting, especially you know, if you're a fan of Wells. Not that the movie is about Wells, it's not. He is in it, and then in the end they kind of tinkle on him a little bit, but that's okay. It's you know, it's
it's Mank's movie, man.
It's Mank's movie, and it's his perspective. But you know, just knowing kind of the backstory to Citizen Kane and watching this writer, you know, there's one moment in this movie that just like really got to me, and that's when he's with his brother, and it's in you know current times, and he'd just finished the script, and you know, and the script had started to get around town, and his brother comes up, and his brother has just lost his job, and he has this very adversarial relationship with his younger brother, who's you know far better looking than him, and probably has found more success in a lot of ways, but not remotely the writer that he is.
Yeah, not the artist.
And you know, he's getting into it with him, and as his brother's leaving, he's like, it's the best thing you ever wrote, and that broke him. You know, that's a moment in this film that broke him, where his brother told him it was the best thing he's ever written. And you know, it was just, I don't know, it's a fucking great movie. It's a sad movie, you know, and it does kind of shine a light on this character in a similar way that Citizen Kane shines a light on the character that you know he based this script off of. By the second hour I was in the second hour I was just like, I couldn't take my eyes off the screen.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how long it was, and then I didn't care. Like you know, when you click on the and you see, wow, there's still that much movie left, and then I forgot about it and just was like engrossed in it.
Yeah, it made me want to go back and watch it again, so I could.
I mean, it'd be a wonderful double feature to do that in Citizen Kane. Like anyway.
Yeah, and you throw in Touch of Evil while you're at it.
Ooh, triple. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, man. I don't know, man. You know, Wells was so far beyond his time that he
15 hours of film.
Yeah, it'll be time well spent. All right, so Tom, for yours, you chose Defy Bloods, which I would not have made it on my best of, although I would tell people to watch it. But the best thing I love about this is the art and the trailers that came out of this movie are off the wall. But anyway, take it away.
It's you know, Spike Lee is at it once again. He's doing what he's great at, and it's a multi-layered film about a group of Vietnam vets that go back to the old country to you know, heal some old wounds and things like that. But then they also have this ulterior motive of finding this stolen gold, and it turns into this whole caper that kind of goes way out of hand. But in the process, you know, there's a lot of character work, and there's a lot of exploration of what happens to a bunch of black men when they, you know, get thrust into this kind of a nightmare situation, and it fucks up all their lives, and it comes back to where we are now, and you know, we see kind of the repercussions of that, and some of them are able to get on with their lives, and some of them aren't. Some of them are still kind of trapped there. And the way those interactions go gets them, you know, deep into a whole lot of other trouble. You know, I mean, what they were doing there in the first place was morally sort of unscrupulous, but you know, the whole movie in general does a lot of questioning of like what's morally right and who's owed what, and you know, who deserves you know, punishment or reward for what they did, and you know, so there's a lot of those themes explored, and the performances are all top notch. The dialogue is engaging. Sometimes you know, Spike Lee leans a little on the preachy side, and I didn't feel like this was one of those, but the interactions with all the actors were great, and Delroy Lindo was fantastic. The one weird thing they did was they kept the present actors' faces when they went into like flashbacks, which I know didn't work for a lot of people. But overall, I liked it as a Vietnam movie. I liked it as a black culture movie. I liked it as you know, I mean, there was a decent amount of action in it. There's a decent amount of drama in it. And you know, it took me places. It was a good story, and
yeah, I mean, I agree. There's so much happening in that movie, and that was my critique of it. Is I think makes sense, so that the critique of it might be why some people like it. Is there was just Denver chose what movie it wanted to be, but at the same time, if you want, you get everything. I mean, it's definitely like a, you know, chock full of you know, action and drama, and anyway. We have also an episode where we critique it, all three of us. Yeah. So if everybody was,
I mean, and honestly, I didn't finish the film, so
that's right. You can't even say
it a real review, but we won't even go there. You know, let's just move on.
Yeah, we need to. We're
slow on time.
We're definitely slow on time here. So we're gonna wrap it up quickly with we have two categories left. We have like what is it called? The documentary, and then worst movies. So I'm just going to go quickly with
a list of the worst shit.
I'm just going to go through the documentaries real quick. There's two I want to highlight. One was Class Action Park. It is a lot of fun, weirdly like depressing and sad at points. But I grew up in Long Island, and I went to this. I used to go to Action Park when I was a kid. So there's a lot of, for me, it was a lot of memories, a lot of weird, like, you know, I never knew how. Like, we made jokes about this place when we were kids, about how like everybody would get like, you get hurt there. It was gross. People would die there. And it turns out people did die there. Like all these urban legends, it turns out, were entirely true. I highly recommend you watch it. It's totally bizarre. And I was tempted to play the trailer. I was going to play it for you guys if you haven't seen it, but go check that one out. And then the other one was Bully Coward Victim, the story of Roy Cohn. I wasn't even going to mention this one, except that it was probably one of the better documentaries I watched this year. And just because of our...
Roy Cohn's such a piece of shit.
He was such a piece of shit, and you can blame him for why this piece of shit is in the White House for 2 more weeks, because we're unfortunately not going to impeach the piece of shit. But you can lay it at this guy's feet. Like, go back and watch it, and it's great. I mean, it really makes you understand how awful him, Roger Stone, all these guys. Like, it's a history lesson in just... on how awful people get to power, and, like, broken, awful people... like
That's
hunger after
true.
power. So,
but I wouldn't go as far as saying He's the reason the piece.
Oh, he was the mentor. He was his.
What I would go as far as saying we're all the reason that piece of
okay, all right. I'm not gonna argue
going
that.
that direction for 50, 60 years.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
we can only all blame ourselves. But
No, it's this guy's fault.
No, you know, yeah. So check that one out.
Speaking of disgusting pieces of shit.
Oh yeah, that's a great segue. Hold on, let me pull up
the worst of
my vote for my vote for best
your vote
documentary.
Yeah, and this was a documentary show.
Mine too.
Yeah, I mean, and definitely the iconic show of 2020. I mean, this show.
But I mean, as somebody who's worked on my fair share of documentaries and challenging documentaries at that, the fact that they got this made and the amount of footage that they have and like the amount of old footage that this guy made for himself that was still around and like cataloged and all that, like they got access to everything. The amount of access that they got to this story was unbelievable. And it's probably the wackiest story I think I've ever heard.
It's unreal, dude. You cannot write that.
It was an appropriate start to 2020, the disaster that turned into.
Oh yeah, I mean this was a good
early
warm up
in the
act.
lockdown. And Tiger King. I loved it. I did that was, honestly, it's the only fucking review I wrote this year for our site.
Good work, Nick.
And it was because it was, I agree. This was my favorite. I mean, there was.
It's undeniable. I mean, and this is one of the most popular shows of the year for a reason. I mean, it's.
Yeah, I mean,
and talk about pure entertainment.
Heard of it? Welcome back to Earth. And.
We're glad you woke from your coma.
It's this guy that ran a tiger zoo that was open to the public, and he sold tigers on the black market. And there's like a whole world of these weirdos. Like all these other assholes,
and they all hate each other.
They're all scumbags, and they all hate each other.
There's nobody likable on this show.
No, not a single fucking.
I mean, you know what's great about this, Tom, is the popularity of the show is going to bring us Nick Cage playing as
I heard about
so
that.
meta.
I mean, yeah, that's weird.
It's fucking weird.
Perfect. I'm so ready for that.
All right, so we gotta skip.
Sure. Well, the main question for Tiger: did Carol Baskin kill her husband? I mean,
of course she did.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, but the guy was such a scumbag anyway that I don't care. Like the guy was a drug dealing piece of shit. Like no sympathy for that fucking guy. Yeah, the guy was awful, and so is she. Everybody's awful. That was a lesson.
Everybody's awful.
Everybody's awful. Everybody gets what they deserve, except for the woman that gets her arm, or man, I think she was trans actually, gets the hand bit off. That the only person you feel terrible for in the whole fucking thing.
Right.
And the tigers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the tigers. I mean,
well, no, my wife and I watched it, and we're like, fuck this show. Like, they try to pretend like it was there to highlight the abuse of tigers. I'm like, whatever. Like, get the fuck over yourselves. Like,
yeah, no, it was yellow journalism.
Yeah, totally. But they're right. Nobody should own tigers. I'm convinced nobody should own a fucking tiger after watching that.
No.
Okay.
Not.
So we have two. So, Tom, you gave me two good choices for your worst of. I wanted to share this one earlier. So I'm going to share just together, kind of like double pack. Was The Vast of Night and Hard Kill.
Yeah.
These are two of yours. So I just can't believe how many bad movies Bruce Willis can make in 1 year.
Well, here's the thing. Like, he's there's something going on with Bruce Willis, and he hasn't said anything, and his people haven't said anything, but he's different. He's a different person now. Like, something's happened to him with age where he's
just doing a money grab then? Like he's just paying off bills? Okay.
And
that can
he's
happen.
not
it's great money. Nobody wants to work with him.
Well, yeah, there's all kinds of stuff going on with Bruce Willis. But either way, Hard Kill, if you couldn't figure it out as a wordplay on Die Hard, but it has nothing to do with that. And he plays this like out to lunch bad guy who like wears this ridiculous scarf. And it's hard to even explain what the plot is. It's just so stupid and so bad, and like the dialogue was pointless, and the cinematography was pointless. Everything was pointless in this movie.
Here's my question. So with Bruce Willis, his career is tanked.
Yeah.
He's too hard to work with, and he doesn't have the bankability he used to. That's why he's not in big movies. So he's Nicolas Cage all over again. Will he become the greatness that is Nicolas Cage now?
I think
who has found himself and reinvented himself as.
I think it's about energy. Like if you watch Nick Cage in a role, he'll bring it. He'll give it. And I haven't seen many of these.
Bring it. He'll bring all the energies ever been created.
Like energy and presence. And these I haven't seen a lot of these.
Nick Cage's plane was crashing for a little while because. I mean, but it's because he pulled the spark plugs out of the engine, whereas like Bruce Willis's plane is crashing because he's out of gas.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Nick Cage put the spark plugs back in and he pulled his plane back up. I don't think the same thing's gonna happen for Bruce.
I don't either.
Yeah, I think his career's. It's like, but he's like Bela Lugosi in
well, there was
Ed
a
Wood,
worst of that Tom picked that I would absolutely wholeheartedly agree with as one of the worst films of the year, and that is Capone.
Oh yeah, let me bring that up. I have the I forgot about
wreck.
this film.
Not even Tom Hardy could save this movie.
Where did I put
it?
The
Was
photo?
Fucking awful and uncomfortable to watch. And Tom Hardy's a great fucking actor. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, he couldn't save this film. He's even not that great in it because it's so over the fucking top. And who gives a fuck about the last year of Capone's life as he's dying?
Yeah, nothing really happened.
Yeah, they chose the worst year.
Nothing happened.
Like
but
there's
nothing
a whole
happens
lot of
in
pants
this
shitting.
film. It's just, he sucks and he's gross.
Yeah.
And this movie is fucking awful, man. It's so bad.
But you had another one, Nick. You had another one that you hated, I thought, even more than Capone.
I did have one that I hated more. Well, I don't know if I hated it more Capone. I kind of forgot about it until Tom mentioned it, and it's really bad, and he's right.
Jesus Rolls.
I fucking hated Jesus Rolls.
This is so. If you look at the cast, John Turturro, Bobby Cannavale, Audrey Tautou, Christopher Walken, John Hamm, Susan Sarandon, how could this movie be bad?
It's awful.
It's awful.
Because it's based on a character that occupied 2 minutes of another movie.
Who was a pederast
20 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just take a look at this. It's a sequel. I don't even want to say that. It's not a sequel to The Big Lebowski. It just is a spin-off movie of The Big Lebowski that takes place after The Big Lebowski about Jesus Quintano, played by John Turturro. That makes him in a starring role. He's your lead character. He's a fucking pedophile in The Big Lebowski and a horrible pile of shit. Now you're going to make a whole feature film where we're going to root for him? And he wrote and directed this, based it off of a 70s kind of rom-com.
Like Eating Raoul?
Yeah, but even predating that, kind of a little more exploitation-y. And it follows him getting out of prison, and he teams up with his best bud, Cavale, and then they go on this fucking road trip and bang people, and there's all these sex scenes that you don't want to see. Nobody wants to see a sex scene with him and Cavale and Susan Sarandon. Nobody needs to see that. It's not okay. It's not okay that you tried to show that to us. And it meanders, even some of these great actors, some of their performances are decent. Nobody does anything brilliant with it. It's all over the place. It makes no fucking sense. And then they have to force in Quintano's lines, like nobody fucks with the Jesus and that kind of shit. And they force these lines into the movie. Where
that's from that other movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when he says it, you're kind of like,
movie. Yeah.
Why did he even say that? It's just it's absolutely abysmal. And he's a great actor, and he's great as the Jesus and
how can
the
he?
Big Lebowski.
But how can he bring that role? Yeah,
because he is not a Maverick. He's not a fucking Clint Eastwood. He's not a Robert Rodriguez. He's not one of these people who can do all these fucking roles. So even his acting suffers in this movie. It's fucking.
I was gonna say, but also
awful.
that character, which is so fun in one
Embarrassing that it's
scene or two
associated
scenes,
with the
whatever.
greatest movie ever made.
Well, I'll say I don't understand how they could make a movie out of this anyway. Just the level of what that character is in those scenes is interesting because it's like he's a side character in a few scenes that's colorful. Like just the idea of making a full movie out of it sounds like such a dumb idea
horrible.
anyway. So yes, it's
not even a movie.
I haven't seen it.
It's just shit.
I have no
in its
plans
own
on
can.
seeing it.
It's probably the worst like conceptualization of a movie since like the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Which is, but that at least Super Mario Brother is interesting.
That was
in its
even better
awfulness.
than this.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
It's like it's so bad it's good. the Super Mario Brothers one.
That was appropriately awful.
Yeah.
You know, you're not trying to follow up making a sequel to one of the greatest films ever made.
All right, guys. Well, I think
it's
we
really
got
bad.
it.
And he does this weird moralizing where he's trying to kind of give this sort of feminist punch to it, and it sounds so awful and like empty coming from some like middle-aged to elderly men. It's like I don't think the feminist movement needs your voice.
Yeah, dude.
Thank
They're
you.
doing all right without you. All right,
Yeah,
Nick. We got to
I've got
guys. We got to
things to
call
say.
it. We're at 9. We're at an hour and a half. So let's wrap it up.
All right, well,
All right. Well, we can wrap this up.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's hoping that 2021's a lot fucking better.
It didn't start out very good.
Well, is there anything coming up we want to watch? What do you guys have on your plates?
WandaVision.
What's that?
What is it?
WandaVision.
Oh, WandaVision. Yes.
Yeah, the trailer for that just dropped.
Yeah, I'm totally. I had no idea like what the hell it is. I just have seen some of the trailers. It looks solely weird and bizarre.
Cobra Kai just came out. Technically, it's a 2021 release, which is why it was not on my list. But that's awesome.
Well, we should talk about
Absolutely
it on the podcast.
go see it. Yeah. Other things to look forward to. Dune for sure.
Supposed to be last year, but I can't wait to see it.
I will see that. I mean, that was the one I was most excited for this year, and it got pushed. So.
Me too. We haven't had the opportunity to chat with that film.
And maybe a good Ghostbusters movie.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Better Call Saul season 6.
Gonna land. You know.
The final season of Better Call Saul's gonna probably be a powerhouse.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be
And God
great.
starts on Sunday.
All right,
This
so we have stuff to look forward to. Let's focus on that.
Yeah.
So anyway, everybody, thank you for listening, watching.
And make sure you hit us up on the social medias. You know, hit us up on the Twitters at Screen Radar and on Facebook and Instagram and Screen Radar, and I don't know, we might be other places.
We're trying to hit 2021 hard with that stuff and make it an actual like more interactive experience with anyone who's listening, anybody who likes movies and shows and all that.
We promise we'll be more present.
Follow us on the YouTubes and the Instagrams and the MySpaces and stuff.
And be safe and healthy. And
take care.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.